Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Fishman Partnership Series. This is a series where we dig into the details with some of our very best and most favorite OEM partners and get behind the scenes on the creation of the instruments and the electronics that go into them. So we are broadcasting on the Fishman Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube channels today. And I'm going to introduce my guest in just a moment. But I'll give you a little hint. We're going to also be broadcasting on the Fender Facebook page. So it is my great pleasure to introduce the Vice President and Category Manager of the Acoustic and Squier divisions at Fender Guitars, Mr. Billy Martinez.
Hey everyone, how are you?
Good afternoon. We're doing good, Billy, and thank you so much for joining us and taking the time today.
No problem. It's my pleasure. Always exciting to talk guitars.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've got a super exciting one to dig into today, for sure. The instrument that we're going to be featuring today is the new American Acoustasonic Jazzmaster guitar. And this is a series that was launched just a couple of weeks ago, and it's been amazing, the response and the reaction and all the content that has been out there on this guitar. Billy, if you can share just a few of the high points since the launch. Some of the cool things that have happened with the instrument, some of the cool responses that you've heard so far. We'd love to hear that.
Yeah, no problem. It's been quite the whirlwind the past 2 weeks, getting everything ready, launching it, and then seeing the amazing response out there in the virtual land. A lot of artist adoption, a lot of folks coming into the fold that had no idea this product existed in its previous forms of the Strat and Tele. And then just a lot of positive reaction around the tonal characteristics that we were able to actually get out of this larger body shape in the Jazzmaster. So a lot of exciting things. We're just scratching the surface with getting our marketing content out there. There's a lot of great things coming up, a lot of artist demos, a lot of walkthroughs, just overall a great, exciting way to launch this third model within this new platform.
Super cool. I agree. I tried to watch all of the content, but I don't know if I ever made it because there's so much and a lot of it is great. And it is fantastic, as you mentioned, to see the diversity of players and artists and use cases for a guitar as unique as the Acoustasonic Jazzmaster. I did want to mention to everybody watching today that this is a live stream, so we do welcome and appreciate your questions and comments. We had a few people saying hello on the intro. Aaron Short, thank you, Aaron. Always great to have you here. We love your stuff as well. And Backline chimed in and said hello. So hello to everybody that's watching, and thank you. I'd like to play just a little piece of video footage that features the president of Fishman and chief technical officer, Larry Fishman. And Larry, in this very short video, details a little bit of the collaborative process and the sonic creation with the Acoustasonic Jazzmaster. So let's take a quick look at that, and we'll come back and dig into the details with Billy.
It was a combination of technologies and approaches that we took to get the features that had been very clearly defined by Brian and Tim from Fender. And that was actually the best part of the project. They knew exactly what they wanted. We weren't guessing all the way. He said, I want a 5-way switch, I want a blend control or a mod knob so I can pan between different settings and sounds. I don't want any toggle switches and anything but a 5-way switch on there. Here are the sounds, here's how we want to control it, and I want it to be absolutely usable without a user manual. Every sound had to work, and it had to be totally intuitive. And that was a great place for us to be from a design point of view, because our partner in this, Fender, really knew what they wanted, and it was up to us to deliver it. This guitar has 3 sensors on it. All of the Acoustasonic series do. The primary acoustic sensor is a under the saddle pickup. Everybody knows what that is. 80% of the acoustic guitars in the world today have some variation of this saddle pickup. This is in this case, Tim Shaw designed humbucker, one of the Fender noiseless series that he designed specifically for this guitar. So that's sensor 2. And then there's a body mounting or top mounted sensor that picks up the body sounds and the top sounds when they're excited. So when you strum the guitar, one of the sensors, depending upon which position you're in, takes that signal, and in this case we'll say it's acoustic sound A, takes that signal and runs it through the input processor that accommodates the needs of the under saddle pickup, the load and things of that nature. Then it goes directly into the digital signal processor. That's where all of the resonances and the richness of the microphones and acoustic guitar sounds that were built for these models, that's where they live. That pickup signal drives those filter sets and all the things that are happening there, and comes out this end sounding like beautiful music. You certainly have 2 completely different sounds by panning the blend control or mod knob, but the magic is you want to brighten up that dreadnought a little bit, you can impart a certain percentage blend of the small parlor guitar, and it's not a tone control. The sounds that you can get in the in-between position are really infinite. So you take an instrument that has 6 fundamental acoustic sounds in it, and you can turn it into 60. So that's the fun of it. For people that are simply interested in sitting at home and recording and doing projects, this is a perfect recording instrument. You have the richness of all the great studio mics and sounds that are in the acoustic section without having to have a $20,000, $30,000 microphone collection. You can plug in and get really convincing recordings with this. The electric side's really fun to play. To hear electric type sounds coming out of a guitar this size, hollow body guitar, with bronze strings, brings a whole other dimension to the world. It's really taking all the goodness that you get out of a full-blown acoustic, but putting it into a package that has infinite variety of sounds and can perform at high volume on practically any stage scenario.
Cool. So a few words from Larry. Larry himself and everybody here at Fishman have been tremendously excited. All of the Acoustasonic guitars, starting with the Telly, going to the Strat last year, and now the Jazzmaster, has been an incredible evolution. And Billy, I know when the Telecaster was the first design, that was tremendously well received. I know that you were very conscious about not just, slapping what we had all collectively done in the Telly into a Strat shape and calling that the new guitar. It was a different sensibility. Every position was thought out and dug into. And certainly on the Jazzmaster, this instrument goes even further to embody, all of the things that make it really different and its own unique offering, where the Strat, the Telly, and the Jazzmaster all have a great reason to exist and a really nice musical application. Billy, if you don't mind, can you share a few of the differences in the Jazzmaster as far as its construction and pickup technology and those kind of things with the crowd, just so people can know really what's fundamentally different about this guitar?
Yeah, I think you nailed it in that little section right there. The whole vision for this that started over 5 years ago was to really take the acoustic guitar and what it could offer the player and take it to a whole new level that had never been done before. There's been variations, including our own, in the past, but they just didn't quite sound the right way. They didn't perform like for ours that we had hoped. And so when we looked at this, the idea was always, if you look at our electric guitar business, you have a Tele, which sounds different than a Strat, which sounds different than a Jazzmaster. That was intentionally designed by Leo Fender from the very beginning. And, our outlook on it was, to kind of embrace that and see the success that it's had, over the 75-year history of our company, and really infuse that same thought process and wanting to innovate and create something that the market didn't know they needed. And it's been exciting. So, when we dove into how the Jazzmaster was going to perform and what we were going to do with it, first and foremost, we knew right away, just based on the design that Brian and Tim created, was the larger body shape was definitely more resonant than its counterparts in the Tele and Strat. That in and of itself actually provided us the opportunity to kind of think a little bit even further outside the box when it came to the different sounds and the voicings that we wanted this guitar to have. We've spoken to this in some of the marketing and some of our, our press release, but when you look at, people who use the Jazzmaster, from everything from an Elvis Costello to a Sonic Youth, and everything in between, you start to really see that the application for this doesn't need to be pigeonholed. And so we were super excited, and taking those learnings and understanding the larger body shape, we sat down and decided that we wanted to actually have Tim Shaw design the Acoustasonic Shawbucker, and really design that pickup for this specific guitar, just as we did with the Strat and Tele. This one was also designed, but we know that, we call it the rowdy sibling. And we definitely took that approach as we looked at not only the larger body shape and not only the Acoustasonic Shawbucker pickup, but then even in, its most unique form. And as we dive a little bit further in, we'll kind of touch on this more, but that position 2A, where we're actually engaging the undersaddle pickup and letting the guitar work on its own, essentially we just infused a new acoustic body shape into the market, if you will, because it is acting like a traditional acoustic guitar. The top is resonating, and it's picking up all of the sound waves that are intended in the construction of the body. So when you take those three things and then you start to look at what that gives you, and then map out, some of the learnings that we found over the past 2 years with the Strat and Tele, it afforded us the opportunity to kind of, again, take it like a little bit further outside the box, as far as what we wanted the instrument to offer to the player.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I see it as the guitar having the Shawbucker. There's a whole new coloration from the electric guitar side. Having the rowdy initiative, if you will, led us collectively to really get further and more aggressive with some of the outer limits of the electric guitar sounds. Having that larger acoustic body, there's some really rich, beautiful, very detailed acoustic sounds here. And Billy, as you mentioned, in addition, we all felt, because there was so much acoustic energy in this guitar in its own right, that position 2A, as Billy mentioned, on the 5-way switch, is indeed the undersaddle pickup by itself. So it's acting as a true acoustic electric guitar without the additional acoustic engine processing. And it's a great musical sound in its own right. And then I would say we went a little further and a little more experimental in that position as well. So it might be a good time for us to listen to a few of the sounds, right? We've got some very short clips with some fantastic players, but we'll listen to a few of the sounds and we can kind of unpack those as we go along. The first video I'd like to take a look at is great guitar player Mason Stoops demonstrating some of the really nice acoustic sounds of this instrument. Let's check that out for a minute. Very, very cool. A great demo of just a few of the acoustic guitar sounds on there. And I think that's that demonstration, and as we listen to some of the other clips, Billy, perhaps you can describe to the people that are watching the kind of logic and the curation of the 5-way switch, and then the incredible power of the blend knob and what that can do for people. If you could give us a quick rundown, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, so I mean, really, when you think about the 5-way switch, and this goes back to what Larry even mentioned in his video, we wanted to keep this simple. We wanted it to be a 5-way switch and the ability to pan between variations of voices. So one of the other things that we've learned and we really dove into on the Jazzmaster is just what guitars that we wanted the images of on each position and how you're panning between them. You can hear in that Mason Stutes clip when he pans over to the other side for the back half of that demo, you can hear the warmth of an all mahogany guitar come through and shine through. So when Rob, when you mentioned about just rich, beautiful tones, that was definitely one of the things that we wanted to embrace, so that it really does give you acoustic guitars and multiples of them, and the ability to be able to record, play live, use it however fits your creative space. And then you start to really think about, as you're panning through positions, what sounds pair well with each other. So like in position 5B, you go from more of a slope shoulder dreadnought. You can just use the switch and move it down one position, and now all of a sudden you have a small body all mahogany guitar. And if you keep going down, you go all the way through, and you're in a high gain distorted humbucking pickup all the way through, and then you can easily switch back to a dreadnought. So really, when we look at all of the different use cases and the way people use them, we really wanted that to be part of it. Ease of use, ease of play, regardless of if you're in the studio, if you're on the stage, or live streaming in this instance until live music comes back again.
Sure.
That was definitely an option. But the cool thing about the blend knob, and I think that's where it lies in in the spicy sauce, if you will, because you've got guitars as you pan through, and as Larry mentioned, you can layer in as much or as little as you want. You can go from both extremes. But when you lie in the middle there, in certain areas, like let's take position 4, for example. On one side you have a jumbo, and on the other side you have a small body mahogany guitar. In the middle of there is a completely new acoustic tone and an acoustic guitar that doesn't exist in physical form. And I think that is exciting in itself, in as much as we're creating instruments within this one instrument that don't physically exist. And I think that's one of the things that's resonated really well with the folks that have given us feedback on these guitars. Everyone from the couch casual, if you will, all the way to artists playing live and doing live streaming. So it's been really exciting to watch, and just as people understand the guitar. We talked about this earlier on, but you've got the launch of it in 2019, We've had early adopters. It was wildly successful. We continued to build out the marketplace with introducing the Strat, and now coming in obviously with the Jazzmaster, and you're starting to have people come into the fold that didn't know this guitar even existed, which is exciting, and kudos to our internal marketing team that did a tremendous job on putting together all of the different content, just to really showcase and really educate people that this guitar is not, it's not just going to pass through, but it's truly here, and we're building that foundation to further expand the marketplace.
Yeah, super cool. I mean, that is, a critical aspect of this. These are not 10 hard-coded preset sounds that you can't modify anyway. That blend capability really gives you all kinds of different infinite shades there. We had a question up just a minute ago about 2A and 2B. And Mr. Rubber Thong, Mr. or Miss Rubber Thong, we will dig into that in just one moment. Actually, we're going to be jumping over and really digging into position 2 on this guitar, because it does do something really new and exciting for the Acoustasonic range, and it's debuting on the Jazzmaster. At this moment, I'd like to progress along, if you will, on the guitar as we sort of take a trip on the 5-way switch here, and get a listen to position 3. And position 3 on this guitar, in the A position, which is completely counterclockwise on the blend knob, is a rosewood spruce auditorium, beautiful acoustic guitar sound. And as you rotate the blend knob, you're adding in a body sensor. And the body sensor has been very, very popular with percussive players that want to do all of the tapping. But one of the very cool things is that the body sensor added in with the acoustic guitar sound also adds this tactile aspect to the tone. It starts to feel really good. Harmonics jump off the guitar. And we've actually got a really nice video piece with Mia Garcia playing, and she's going to kind of run us through position 3, and we can hear the impact of the body pickup on the acoustic guitar sound. Let's check that out. Nice. Really, really great sounding. In that video, you can certainly hear a really tasteful application of the body sensor. The fingernails on the strings, just all that dynamic. Also, I invite and encourage everyone that can to get out and play these guitars, because the body sensor is really a thing that you feel as much as you hear, right? It starts to add this incredible feedback, if you will, this mechanical interaction with the guitar, that if you're playing harmonics or finger style or certainly tapping style with extreme settings of that control, it's a very cool thing. People should lay their hands on it and check it out on that particular one. And I'd like to say thank you to everyone that's just chimed in to say hello. Regilio and Matthew and Greg. Greg actually wants an American flag Jazzmaster, Acoustasonic Jazzmaster. That's his request. And Zahar and Brian and Lance. So lots of good questions there. I do want to jump back to, and we had a great question about neck shape too, Ryan. Maybe we'll put that up real quick and dig into that. Billy, you want to grab that one?
Yeah, it actually is similar in design to the Tele and Strat. In fact, it's the same neck that would come on the Strat. So it's a modern deep D neck.
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Feels good. It's plenty of wood there, very resonant, but super easy to get around on as well. So it's a comfortable shape.
Ease of playability for sure has been one of the things that we wanted to make sure for these guitars, especially knowing some of the pushback on some traditional acoustics. So
yeah, well, and Matthew has a great question here on that topic, and I was just going to mention that for people that haven't experienced Acoustasonic yet, or including the Jazzmaster, Billy, could you describe the playing feel? Is it more of an electric guitar feel? Is it more of an acoustic guitar feel? How would you qualify that?
Yeah, I would actually describe it as more of an electric guitar feel. One of the things as I joined Fender that we really wanted to implement across the line was just ease of playability in our instruments, which, we've got variations of necks and there's people that like, specific variations, but we really wanted this one to feel very comfortable, especially if you're an electric player that is considering going, and dabbling in the acoustic world a little bit. We wanted that to feel very familiar to those players. And then players on the acoustic side, just making it super easy and feeling comfortable to be able to move to the electric guitar side of things as well.
Awesome. No, that's great. And Ryan, if you don't mind, if we could put the question back up regarding position 2. That would be fantastic. The rubber thongs. Could you explain more about the 2A and 2B positions and how they differ from the other acoustic sounds? Billy, you want to grab that one, and we'll just detail it a little more?
Absolutely. So position 2A, as we mentioned, because of the larger body shape on the Jazzmaster, it had afforded us the ability to treat it like a true acoustic guitar through and through. So as Rob mentioned, we really lean heavily on the undersaddle pickup to actually work like a true acoustic guitar does. The beauty of that, again, is that you're entering a new acoustic guitar shape that's never been out there in the market before, which is exciting in and of its own without all the rest of the technology going on.
Sure.
It's super exciting. The thing we wanted to do, and we keep alluding to this, but it, in the true theme of being rowdy, if you will, on the B side is where we actually call it lo-fi piezo crunch, meaning we're adding a little bit of that electric guitar kind of grit and gain on top of an acoustic pickup, which we all were super excited, obviously, when we were there listening to it. And going through and deciding which voices. The thing that's been exciting is as folks have purchased these and as artists have started to use them, that's one of the positions that kind of you can watch them play and they get to that spot and they kind of perk up because they're like, I don't think I've ever heard something like this before. So it's that part of it's really exciting because within the blend knob, then you've got a true acoustic voice that you can bring in as much or put it all the way on again, and it's more of like a distorted acoustic sound, which years ago would have been blasphemy, but as musical genres start to blend and people take their creative space in different directions, it's exciting to see those things and to be able to have capabilities like that, for all the creative folks out there, making music.
No, definitely, definitely. That is, it's a super fun sound. And to your point, you've now gone way beyond, simulating traditional acoustic guitar sounds or even traditional electric guitar sounds. At that point, you're creating something that, it hasn't been a staple before, yet it's incredibly musical and useful. And I should also point out that everything we've talked about today and the videos we've heard and the demos we've heard, these are people taking the Acoustasonic Jazzmaster, plugging it into a Fender amplifier, miking the amplifier, maybe taking a DI as well. But everything you hear as far as the sonics and the processing, that's all built into the Acoustasonic Jazzmaster. So let's check out this video, which is another Mason Stoops video, where he shows us position 2A and then transitions to 2B, and check out how cool this texture is and the very, very different things he can get out of it. Awesome. No, good sounding stuff there. Matthew wrote in during the video that he thought it was a great sound. And it's just cool to hear because it's a texture that you wouldn't ordinarily think of maybe. And, you can hear great music being played by it. The other thing that I wanted to point out, even though right before the video I mentioned that pretty much everything we're hearing today is inbuilt in the guitar, these are guitars. So I know with Acoustasonic Tele and Acoustasonic Strat, and I'm sure into the Jazzmaster, people can and will plug these instruments into all different kinds of things, right? Tremendous amounts of pedals, effects, high gain amplifiers. It's been amazing how people have applied it in so many different ways. Here's a good question for you, Billy. Krista writes in and asks, what's the best amp pairing for this generation of the Acoustasonic?
Yeah, that's always a fun question to kind of dabble in. It's kind of like, when we're asked who was this guitar for, and we say, unequivocally guitar players. Like we're not trying to be cliche or cheeky. It's legitimately, we wanted everybody to find, its own use for it. For me, I prefer to actually have it direct or through a PA speaker.
Hmm.
And then I use, but at times I do use an ABY box, and I'll run it through my Fender acoustic amp. And then when I get to electric sounds, I'll run it through my supersonic
Yeah,
um, amp. But again, it's kind of use cases, right? So depending on what you're creating or where your inspiration is coming from, you've got the ability to use multiple amps. And then the exciting part is as you do start to like figure out what your sound is, I like actually playing it through a tube amp, to be completely honest, in its
sure.
acoustic settings, because
Yeah,
you get some wildly different sounds that you typically wouldn't get from a traditional acoustic guitar. And then, Rob, as you mentioned, like once you start, inserting in for the folks that like to use them, a pedal board and their own effects, now all of a sudden you can get, very creative, all the way from, super spacey sounds to super electric driven tones to, adding a little reverb on top of it. So it really does, when you ask for, the best amp to use, it really becomes, the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's what is your sonic sound that you're looking for, and then really hone in on that to be able to be creative.
for sure. And I think, that was something with the Acoustasonic Jazzmaster, as well as the previous instruments, when Fishman and Fender were working very closely together to make sure we had the best collection of sounds, we listened through a great variety of amplifiers to make sure that they would translate. So we listened through Fender Deluxe reverbs. We listened through Fender Acoustasonic amplifiers. We listened through some English tube amplifiers, some different things that are out there in the guitar world that people could plug into. So Billy and I we're not trying to not answer your question,
Yeah.
but we can assure you that Acoustasonic and Acoustasonic Jazzmaster sounds really musical and great through a wide variety of things. So as Billy eloquently detailed, if your focus is more on the acoustic sounds and you're looking for as much accuracy and naturalness, you may prefer full range amplification. And if your sounds are more towards Americana or alternative or rock or veering towards the electric guitar side, you might appreciate the coloration of a nice tube amplifier like a deluxe reverb or something. So all good choices there. I think we had another question jump in the middle, and it was, I believe it was from Matthew, saying that he was primarily an acoustic player. And let's see if we can grab that one again. Billy, could you speak to that one for us, please? Check Matthew's question out.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it is easy for an acoustic guitar player to pick up and kind of run with, especially if you think along the lines of running this guitar DI, whether it's for recording or whether it's actually for, in a live setting. The beauty of it is that you can plug it in and have all of these different acoustic sounds at your fingertips without changing guitars, right? So from an acoustic standpoint, and you'll notice within the Tele, the Strat, and the Jazzmaster, there are far more acoustic voicings than there are on the electric side. The electric side, it was really, we're an electric guitar legacy brand, and we have these amazing minds that build these great pickups, and we wanted to be able to utilize some of that. But it really is, through and through, the platform originated as to be an acoustic guitar first and foremost.
Sure. And once again, to answer the question, please take the opportunity to get your hands on some of these guitars, because they are they're inspirational unplugged. There's a very nice. You're welcome, Matthew. There's a very nice, pleasant acoustic tonality to the guitars, particularly the Jazzmaster with the large body. It really moves a lot of air. It's very musical. You start writing songs pretty much the minute you pick it up. And then as soon as you plug it in, you're into all these different shades and all this versatility and variety. And it's I found it to be a great guitar for people kind of coming at it from both ends of the spectrum, right? Acoustic guys that want to add variety and maybe some electric coloration into what they're doing, and for, you know, dyed in the wool rock and rollers, electric guitar people, you know, the acoustic aspects of Acoustasonic have really been appealing to those folks as well. And then, of course, you have an artist like Jack White that will, you know, put it on the acoustic sound, plug it into 1,000 fuzz tones and octave pedals, and you know, just go someplace completely original with it. So,
Yeah.
we had a question up here about the difference, the basic difference between the Acoustasonic Tele and Acoustasonic Jazzmaster. Billy, could you grab that one for us?
Yeah, absolutely. At a high level, obviously, like we've been talking about, the Jazzmaster's larger body shape obviously afforded us to go in some unique directions. The Tele has, obviously it has its list of voices, but that in the Tele and the Strat, that's one of those two guitars give the player the ability to blend between acoustic and electric within the same position. On the Jazzmaster, we really chose to use that acoustic position and then layer on that bit of crunch on top of an acoustic. And then as you look at the different wood combinations and guitars, this is the first time we really went into an all mahogany small body, and we layered in now a jumbo, where the Strat and Tele don't have the jumbo sounds. They have other sounds that are curated towards what that instrument and what we wanted to offer with them. So at a high level, I mean, that's the basic differences between all three of them, the Tele, the Strat, and the Jazzmaster.
Got it. Fantastic. Well, very cool. Well, since we're getting into the electric guitar direction, we've got a couple of video pieces, but the first one I would like to check out is a really nice guitar player. His name is Nicholas Vinoglu, and he is going to demonstrate some of the electric guitar tones coming out of the Acoustasonic Jazzmaster. Great. Super cool. Well, I can, what was, I've watched that clip a few times, but watching it that time, one of the things that I really liked is Nicholas's playing, very expressive. He showed how dynamic the overdrive sounds can be, and as he sort of progressed in the dynamic from the Fender Fat Clean over to the more overdriven sounds, you could certainly hear the Shawbucker kicking in, right? The thickness and the real power of the humbucking pickup in that guitar. we touched on this at the top, Billy, but it might be worth digging back into because I think it's an important aspect on the electric guitar side. The concept of the Jazzmaster being the rowdy one, and how that ended up reflecting in the magnetic pickup design and choice, and then in the overdrive characteristics and sort of where the guitar went. Love to hear a few more details on that because it's a great crunchy sound that this guitar has for sure.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when you get towards that electric side of things, we wanted it to, be tried and true, tip of the hat to our electric guitars. Some fun on that, just, when you're thinking of a clean humbucking sound, it's always going to be a little bit more, thick and full just based on the way that the pickup is. But as soon as you roll in and you nailed it, like the distinct difference of rolling in that like overdriven side of things was super important for us too, just because, as folks start to integrate, different amps and different pedal boards, the electric sounds had to be, they had to actually perform the way that a true electric guitar performs. And that's why the beauty of having Tim Shaw and the genius behind what he does to be able to create two separate pickups for an acoustic guitar that has all kinds of other issues going on in and of themselves, and then to be able for them to dynamically perform in the way that we all collectively, when we were going through the voicing process, for them to all perform how we had hoped, and make some slight tweaks and adjustments along the way once we've heard it, to then, for me, I mean, growing up playing, punk rock music, like I just had the biggest grin on my face when we rolled into that overdriven sound on the electric side, because that's my jam right there. So it was exciting to see that, and exciting to hear, just the great response on the fact that you can get that great of electric tones out of this acoustic guitar with all its other voicings.
No, absolutely, and it was very, very cool from the dynamic aspect, and it's also, I guess, for this demo, it's important to point out that all of that overdrive and all of that coloration that you were hearing when Nicholas was playing, that's all all built into the guitar. He wasn't running additional pedals. He wasn't running any overdrive on an amp. So that's kind of inbuilt in the guitar, and you'll get that tone plugging into a clean anything. And of course, you can take it further if you like, but that's all right there for anybody to access, right on board with all the pure acoustic sounds and everything else. So I want to play one more video clip because I think the electric guitar sound is, it's hard to pick a favorite, but it's obviously, from the Fishman perspective, we had pretty good confidence out at the beginning of Acoustasonic development that we could get some pretty great plugged-in acoustic guitar sounds, particularly after hearing the quality of the acoustic design of the instrument and the resonance with the sound port tuning and all of the great things that Tim and Brian and yourself and the development team kind of put together in the guitar. So that we weren't really concerned about. To deliver convincing electric guitar sound that honors the name Fender on the headstock and can really dig into some real rock and roll on a hollow guitar with a wooden bridge with phosphor brown strings on it. That was quite a trick for sure. But in this next video, I think you'll hear a different approach with the electric guitar sound, but equally as impressive. There's a bunch of slide guitar in this video. And this is one more video from Mason Stoops, so let's listen to that one. Nice. Um, that track definitely had some additional colors in it. It sounded like some nice tremolo on the end there. So Mason might have taken that guitar a little bit further, but it was great to hear the slide and the beautiful overdrive and dynamics out of that. So super cool. Here's a good question, Billy. We should mention Jim is asking about the tone woods that the guitars are constructed with.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So the body itself is made out of mahogany. The neck is out of mahogany as well to match. We felt it was really important to have that connection of mahogany to mahogany on the backside of the neck. And then we use solid spruce tops. So when you think through and through an acoustic guitar, one of the most popular versions is a mahogany back and sides neck with a spruce top dreadnought.
Right.
We really wanted to embrace that fact and give it that organic fit and feel.
Nice. Absolutely. And I think the balance of the wood is all ebony, correct? Ebony fingerboard, ebony bridge.
Correct.
And the knobs on these guitars are also machined out of ebony. So, beautiful aesthetic touch and great feel on the ebony board. And of course, once again, those are classic, as you mentioned, classic acoustic guitar tone wood combinations. I'm not sure if the ebony knobs actually make the guitar sound better or not, but they sure do look cool and they feel good. So it's a really
absolutely
nice touch. All right, Brian has a question about the weight of the Acoustasonic Jazzmaster.
The weight of it is very much comparative to a more full-size traditional acoustic guitar with no electronics.
Yeah.
It varies anywhere from 5.5 pounds to just shy of 7 pounds. So there's a variation within there just based on the density of the mahogany. But that's one of the benefits of the way that the construction of this guitar is designed. It is super lightweight, yet still very, very resonant.
No, for sure. And I would argue that they even feel lighter than that, right? Because you've got such a nice compact instrument relative to like a full-size dreadnought guitar, that it's a very manageable weight. And of course, being thin, having the classic Fender contours in it, it's just a very comfortable playing experience. And I think it was back during the Acoustasonic Strat when that guitar might have been first launched with the Nile Rodgers video, and Nile would talk about the Acoustasonic. Nile is famous for playing a Fender Stratocaster electric guitar, the Hitmaker, that's on all of his records, and he carries it with him wherever he goes. I was excited when he said he now carries a double gig bag that has the Hitmaker on one side and the Acoustasonic in the other. And once again, for him, the lightweight and the comfort and the musical inspiration that came out of a versatile guitar like an Acoustasonic was important to him. So they're definitely super cool for traveling. Yeah, I
was going to mention that one. That was a pinch me moment. It was really great for Lindsay to actually not only work with us but embrace it and have such high praise for the instrument. He was super excited, and organically you can feel that in his demo. Right. Doing it back at the original studio it was that he recorded in was just phenomenal. So yeah, it was great.
That's I did see that. It was a very cool video. It sounded great. It looked great. And you're right. With an artist of that stature, they're probably not used to or very good at hiding their feelings or faking their enthusiasm at this point. So
Yeah.
it was cool to see Lindsey genuinely jazzed and playing great on it, on the Jazzmaster. You know, Lindsey, fantastic player, obviously a you know, legendary rock icon and guitar hero. These guitars are so diverse, Billy. I did want to ask you, in addition to Lindsey, and I know the Acoustasonic Jazzmasters are brand new. They have just been released, but if you could share with us a few of the artists that have had a chance to play the Jazzmaster, or maybe even some of the other Acoustasonic guitars, I'd love to hear the diversity and the collection of artists that have, and maybe if you know about their use cases for these guitars, that might be nice to know too. Who's playing these things out there?
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a lot more, and we spoke about this kind of earlier on and alluded to it. Just, you know, some, like a new design like this sometimes needs to have time to kind of permeate out there, and for people to understand it and then embrace it. I mean, we've had, obviously you mentioned, you know, Jack White to Sting to Jimmy Buffett to even more recent artists like her, who performed at the Super Bowl as well. We just did a signature guitar with her. She is super pumped on the Acoustasonic platform and using it. I mean, it's such a wide array, and I think that's kind of the interesting part, is they're all using it in this new way, you know, that's exciting and that fits their creative space. And I think that's another key thing to just, you know, latch onto, is they're all using it in multiple different ways. I've even been told about Blake Mills, the producer, sitting around with other producers and just gushing about its capabilities within the studio and being able to use it. And you know, we all know that for folks that go into the studio, especially at the artist level, you know, the producers can really impact and influence, you know, what songs come out on a record and even what instruments are used on a record. So it's exciting to see that, you know, artists are starting to, you know, embrace it more. They're starting to understand it more. They see more use cases for it. And then you've got producers who are, you know, have it handy while they're in the studio recording music, you know, with different folks, and the ability to kind of put it in those people's hands in a moment that can, you know, almost feel enlightening for them in that creative space. And then all the way to, you know, like, you know, Billie Eilish's brother, who produces all of her music, Phineas, he's been an adopter since the Telly days, and just completely fell in love with the Jazzmaster, you know, and is using it in recordings and in live settings too. So, you know, you can look at Nile Rodgers, you can look at Lindsey Buckingham, you can look at Phineas Eilish, you can look at all the way up to Kirk Hammett, who uses it from Metallica, you know, and then all the way down to a Jimmy Buffett, you know. So that
Sure.
spectrum is so huge, and that's why, you know, when I mentioned at the beginning, the whole premise of this design was to build a guitar for guitar players, and it's been fun and exciting to see how that's come to fruition.
No, absolutely. That is, it is, and it's cool to see people doing very fresh things with the guitars, and being sometimes you know, in the case of Nile Rodgers, be inspired and write a track around the guitar, if you will. You know, the instrument drove him to explore all the settings and kind of create a really nice piece of music that as he got further and further into the instrument, he kept layering and you know, adding colors to the track that he didn't even know the guitar was capable of. So super cool in that regard. We are getting very close to wrapping up here. So I wanted to say thank you to everybody that has already written in with questions and nice comments. Drew, thank you.
Thank you, Drew.
You know, so it's been very good in that regard. I did want to kind of close out with a last question for you, Billy, and that is, what's next for Acoustasonic? I mean, these are three incredible instruments. Is that going to be it? Do you have any other thoughts? Obviously, whatever you're comfortable sharing, we would appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to talk about what's next 2 weeks after launching something.
Yes,
but it is
yes,
a
I
great
know.
question.
Yeah.
It is a great question in as much as we want to make sure that folks understand that this is not this is a marathon. This is not a sprint. We are actively working very hard and diligently as a company and as a brand, and everyone within our company that's part of this, just to continue to build out a marketplace that didn't exist. So there's colorways that are going to be coming up in some of the other models. Obviously, we've done exotic variations, which will still entertain. And then there's also just from the artist front, doing custom one-offs that people will start to see out, in live settings and using everywhere. So, we're exhausting everything. We're not here to launch these three body shapes and sit back and hope the world just changes. I mean, we're constantly innovating and looking at what is the next thing, and what is, we've got all of these different variations of instruments. What is going to be part of the Acoustasonic family, and I can say with full confidence that there is a lot more coming. So hold on to your seats, because we're really enjoying where this is going right now.
Excellent. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in and for all the great questions and comments. Billy, thank you very much for taking the time and sharing the details on these extremely cool guitars with us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. And I, from the Fender side, I appreciate everyone who's sat in on this, and just your overall enthusiasm. That resonates well, not just with my team, but within our company. And we're super appreciative of that as well. And just wanted to let you guys know too, if there's other questions that come up, or there's other things you feel like you didn't quite understand, you can always go visit fender.com, and we've got a whole slew of information and different things that you can dive into from a video perspective. And then obviously out there on our YouTube channel and our socials, there's plenty to dig through as well there. So, but I appreciate you guys logging in.
Yes. Excellent. Well, everyone, have a fantastic, safe and healthy afternoon or evening, morning, wherever you are. Thank you very much for watching the Fishman Partnership Series, and we'll see you soon.